Hello, I'm Rebecca Weekly. I'm Intel's VP of Hyperscale Strategy and Execution, and I'm in California right now. And I'm very excited to be a part of IONOS Cloud Up. IONOS is one of our most important partners, and the Cloud Up event reflects the rapid development of IONOS, so I'm thrilled to be a part of it. So let's first talk about where we are in the cloud industry. We are truly at an inflection point. We are seeing massive acceleration and the value of cloud in addressing new behavior patterns of end users. Cloudification, or the massive movement of data, applications, and services to make use of cloud computing, is the new reality. From the edge to the network to data centers, the pervasive adoption of cloud architecture has transformed business and society. The cloud is more important than ever. Cloud computing is currently an inherent piece of our everyday lives. As the world battles and copes with this global pandemic, cloud computing has taken an even bigger role in society. From video conferencing, contact tracing, vaccine discovery, remote learning, and of course, more consumption of streamed content, we have accelerated cloud deployments across the world. With the rise of IoT, edge computing is more rapidly gaining popularity with strong interaction with and reliance on the cloud. Gartner predicts by 2022, more than 50% of enterprise-generated data will be created and processed outside of the data center or cloud. Now, more than ever, we are seeing consistent patterns for the need to increase capacity overnight, to be flexible, and to adapt to an ever-changing normal. Scale and agility are key attributes of cloud infrastructure, and they are as important as ever in delivering to the needs of now. Because of the acceleration of cloud computing, this opportunity, this partnership is huge, especially for the European market. European companies are moving toward the cloud significantly more aggressively due to COVID-19 than companies in America. 89% of European respondents have increased cloud usage due to COVID-19, compared to 61% of the respondents from the Americas. Top European cloud initiatives are migrating more workloads to the cloud, 70%, optimizing existing use of cloud, mostly for cost savings being a predominant reason, that's about 59%, and to progress a cloud-first strategy, a strategy towards business resilience, and that's really 50% of respondents. So the cloud is growing faster than ever. So let's talk a little bit about the European market specifically. Europe is increasingly focusing on the future of success in the digital domain. Digital sovereignty is a key vertical, and key vertical industries for indigenous technology leadership is incredibly important to the European strategy. The European Commission's plan aims to establish Europe as a trusted digital leader in a competitive data economy, trading in a single market, a single data market, while taking advantage of global data and service titans. The three EU digital strategy building blocks around the cloud, the application space, the indigenous processor innovation, the architecture piece, and the silicon manufacturing, while publicly funded independently, drive toward these same goals, and they feed off of each other. Intel understands this local market. It is a key part of these initiatives and is committed to making them successful. For example, both Intel and IONOS are early members of Gaia-X, working together to build a secure digital infrastructure for Europe. We like the idea of sovereign data spaces as they remove barriers for organizations to share and collaborate on data. Sovereign data exchange requires secure and confidential handling of data, which can be achieved via Intel's software guard extensions, and we'll spend a little more time on that later in this session. IONOS and Intel are actively collaborating to create key components, the data space connector that utilizes the Intel Sgx to achieve maximum trust. And let's come back to that in a moment. When we talk about protecting data, it is a fundamental requirement for every organization, and it is increasingly difficult in this world. So let's talk about how we can work together to make it better for end users. Data proliferation exacerbates the challenge of delivering effective data security. New and shifting business models put increasing demands on data accessibility and usability. Trust enables businesses to innovate with velocity while remaining safe and trusting their cloud service provider. They must ensure the availability of backup and recovery resources and make sure that the impact is visible in industry studies that cite data security concerns as a barrier to adoption of cloud computing. This impacts enterprises and service providers. So if we cannot trust one another, we won't feel comfortable in leveraging cloud services. Now, another aspect that is incredibly important in choosing your data protection services is cost and complexity. As infrastructure gets more complex, it's becoming more expensive. If that infrastructure is not current, if it is not up to date, if it is not patched, your hardware is not as secure. You will hear from enterprises that legacy infrastructure is a barrier to innovation and makes it harder to enable security tools and features. At the infrastructure level, on old hardware, you're just not as protected. Finally, regulation and compliance are a major part of choosing your security strategy. With added regulatory and compliance requirements for data protection, GDPR, and the ensured compliance of current regulations, it is very important for data security, privacy, and data sovereignty, and transparency control of your operations to ensure that you are in compliance. Security is a top concern for our organizations, and it drives new opportunities in a rapidly evolving world to differentiate and compete in today's market. So let's talk about one of the areas of differentiation that Intel brings to the market, specifically in partnership with IONOS, to deliver for European needs. Intel Software Guard Extensions is a system of architectural enhancements designed to help protect application integrity and confidentiality of data, and to withstand certain software and hardware attacks. Intel Sgx allows the application developer to provide application security without dependency on the correctness of the operating system, the VMM, the BIOS, or the drivers. Service providers can have more assurance that their tenant agents have security features and that guest-based policies have not been tampered with. Because the technology runs on an IA core, it is highly scalable. Today's security technologies and software methods help protect applications from each other, but not necessarily from the system. Attackers are still finding vulnerabilities in the platform hardware and software, and they're exploiting them, allowing access to application secrets and sensitive data. With Intel Sgx, developers now have a tool to help protect application secrets by helping to prevent access to them by malware or codes that exploit system vulnerabilities through privilege escalation. It allows developers to help keep application secrets and/or data more secure in a hardware protective space called an enclave, and empowers developers to help protect the sensitive parts of their applications to help prevent malware and system software from gaining access. Sgx is therefore positioned well to support the goals of Gaia-X for data sovereignty and a trustful cloud service. Its privacy-preserving properties can be utilized in data spaces to implement the desired protected data exchange. In cooperation with IONOS and Orbiter DE, Intel is therefore currently implementing an open source connector component that utilizes Intel's Sgx. Secure enclaves are used to keep all private data handling and routing within the data space, ensuring data is treated according to its usage constraints. We are setting out to create a generic and reusable module that will be useful among many data spaces and their verticals, and will adhere to the specifications set by the International Data Space Association and Gaia-X. We are pleased to be leading this charge with IONOS in the European market. You may be wondering where you can get access to Intel Sgx. Earlier this year, Intel launched its third-gen Intel Xeon processors with built-in Intel Sgx. As established, securing customer data is paramount. As the world shifts to work and learn from home, online transactions are increasing, and the world for cyber criminals to hack credit card data, healthcare information has opened up in many ways. They are able to target individuals and organizations, and it is our responsibility to secure our own data. With the 3rd gen Xeon scalable processors, we are bringing Intel Sgx into our mainstream 2-socket processors. Intel Sgx provides a trusted environment for execution to help protect sensitive code and data. With hundreds of research studies under its belt, it's been continuously hardened over time. Intel Sgx has the smallest potential attack surface within the data center. As we are already seeing great adoption in the ecosystem, Intel Sgx has been deployed and is leveraged in production by hundreds of the most security-conscious enterprises, like AOK, one of the largest health insurance providers in Germany, who is leveraging Sgx for digital health record management, and Consilient, who is leveraging Sgx to allow banks to share records without revealing private customer information. But the Intel 3rd gen Xeon is not just about application isolation. We are also introducing Intel's total memory encryption for basic bulk encryption and the entire memory space to protect against physical attacks. And we're introducing Intel's platform firmware resilience technology for defending and even recovering the underlying firmware layer to protect against permanent denial of service attacks. With our Xeon 3rd gen Intel scalable processors, we are providing enclaves of protected memory to deliver enhanced security for sensitive data. I wanted to provide some of the results we're delivering in the performance domain because a processor would not be complete just talking about security. Of course, every single generation of the Intel Xeon processor, we are working to bring the best-in-class performance to market. So I want to talk a little bit about how we are accelerating key market segments and workloads relevant to them with our 3rd gen Xeon scalable processors. As you can see, we are delivering impressive 50% or higher gen-on-gen performance gains across many market segments and workloads, including improvements on latency-sensitive workloads like HammerDB, MySQL, WordPress, and Java throughout the cloud. Network communication workloads like the 5G user plane function or CDN live services, image classification workloads like ResNet 50 at the intelligent edge, nanoscale molecular dynamics or NAMD in HPC, and of course, BERT, natural language processing in AI. IONOS and Intel developed a very open and trustworthy relationship over many years of cooperation together. We have deployed many new services, platforms, and products. I'm very happy to see IONOS constantly brings Intel innovative products into their offerings to help support end users. I believe the main pillars of what unites IONOS and Intel are the latest Intel technology and products, of course at the CPU level, but also with other products like Intel's Optane SSDs, data security. Since Europe and especially Germany, our data protection and data sovereignty is such a critical requirement for end users. We are very proud to provide IONOS unique technology to develop world-class security features, such as Intel's Sgx. And with Intel's exceptional data center product portfolio, IONOS also offers market-leading services. In this context, I am also very proud to announce that IONOS is working to equip the majority of all their new servers with the 3rd gen Intel Xeon scalable processors. There's other aspects of Intel and IONOS's partnership that I really also want to highlight. IONOS's private cloud services provide security and affordability to small and medium-sized businesses. These businesses in the past have been somewhat hesitant to adopt the public cloud, put off by high prices of some of the hyperscale private cloud offerings and perceived risk of using shared infrastructure, however well it is secured. So IONOS has created a private cloud service using our 2nd gen Intel Xeon scalable processor to give customers a spectrum of price and performance options to choose from. The solution is based on VMware, so the customer's IT team can use their existing tools and experience from their on-prem cloud, rather than having to learn a new technology stack. This solution has been in the market for a long time, us together. We're helping bring affordable private cloud experiences to the public cloud, lowering that barrier of entry by creating adoption of tools that customers are familiar with. This creates a powerful performance and security opportunity for end users to expand into the public cloud. With the launch of this new service, IONOS has been able to bring even more small and medium-sized businesses into the cloud to help them scale their compute capability more effectively. In the long term, IONOS expects customers to gain confidence and begin to adopt public cloud for even greater flexibility in more use cases through this private cloud offering. So, taking a step back, I really want to talk about the collaboration that we as Intel bring across the data center experience with a partner like IONOS. You know Intel for silicon and hardware solutions, our CPUs, our Ethernet cards, what we've done with Optane and various accelerators, and of course, most recently announcing our public IPUs. But solutions require hardware and software. We work very closely with our customers to deliver direct optimizations. We are the largest contributor to the Linux kernel. We have open sourced fleet management tools and increased tools for quality at scale. I really want to make sure you understand the partnership that we are bringing to our customers in all of these spaces, the breadth of end user vertical coverage that we bring with our expertise to help develop platforms, all the way up to the software stack. We have had so many years of deep partnership with partners like IONOS in the ecosystem, partnering through spaces like OCP, with large teams to support their deep customizations and long-term capabilities. We are working to accelerate cloud innovation, and it really does require focus across the entire scope of the data center. Looking at the holistic hardware platform, making sure it is the best foundation from the silicon to the system. Software with open source, broad ecosystem support, and workloads that are well optimized. And finally, the support that we provide to our end users to ensure that they are always available and ready to run on Intel processors. No one is in this industry alone. It takes all of us working together, the partnerships, the collaborations, to ensure that we can leverage one another's unique strengths and insights to bring the best solutions to market. Intel has a long-standing engineering and business relationship with leading commercial software providers around the world. Here are some of the examples. Of course, partnerships with SAP HANA, with Oracle Database, more solutions for VMware than anywhere else in the world, massive partnerships with Red Hat on open source, on OpenSSL, partnerships on ResNet 50, so many ways in which we've worked together to ensure new and interesting technologies like Optane persistent memory for SAP HANA. There's so much work that we continue to do in this ecosystem to bring best-in-class solutions to market with our technology. For customers that rely on open source software, Intel's contributions help you extend performance when you deploy applications on Intel platforms. Intel was an early enabler of open source software and is a leading contributor to hundreds of communities. That means open source software is quickly enabled for the latest Intel platforms so customers can realize the full advantage of the hardware and features. Through our engagements, Intel engineers have developed great expertise in these workloads, expertise and insight that we turn around and deliver across the ecosystem to our customers. Intel is the #1 corporate contributor to the Linux kernel. Many processor-level features require operating system enabling. Intel's Linux engineers tune performance and activate new platform features for the kernel, test them with rigor, and then upstream them to the kernel maintainers. OpenVINO is quickly ramping into a leadership position in AI-based processing of visual data across multiple hardware platforms. Use of the Intel distribution of OpenVINO allows for true multi-platform compatibility. TensorFlow and PyTorch are leading AI libraries used for a wide variety of machine learning and deep learning applications. On Intel platforms, customers can enjoy the benefits of Intel optimizations with the Intel distributions of TensorFlow and PyTorch that support bfloat 16, which delivers 1.93x gen-to-gen higher training performance on TensorFlow and 270% more inference performance on PyTorch. The Data Plane Developer Kit is an open source toolset initiated by Intel and now under the Linux Foundation. It started with a seemingly impossible goal, which was to deliver performance and features on high-volume Intel-based servers required to replace the proprietary, purpose-built packet processing platforms that made up the core of the world's communication networks. Today, it is the most successful data plane development toolkit in the world and has increased packet throughput performance by over 8.5x since its inception. We work to ensure there is compatibility, consistency, and predictable application performance across any Intel architecture. That is our promise to end developers, to the developers of IONOS. We work to ensure the cloud-to-edge spectrum supports developers wherever they need to be. Wherever you go, you can be supported by Intel. We give you that reach to write your applications once and have them run anywhere on any server supported. There's consistency and compatibility. Intel enables workload placement flexibility and choice. Workloads optimized for Xeon can be readily placed in other locations due to the ubiquity of Xeon-based infrastructure. IE supports the most robust enterprise software ecosystem. It is widely tested and optimized and compatible code base, providing the most confidence that applications, often hundreds of dependent software libraries, can migrate seamlessly from any cloud, on-prem or IONOS' public cloud. IA has a proven track record of backwards compatibility for previous IA generations, and it is the most widely deployed infrastructure for enterprise applications on-prem and in the cloud. For hybrid environments, enterprises benefit from the latest generation of Intel technology deployed. As mentioned, the IONOS private cloud offering with VMware, users can expect predictable and consistent application performance in VMware Cloud on IONOS, also powered by Intel architecture. Xeon is the most deployed platform architecture throughout the cloud, on-prem, and at the edge. It is easy and available and consistent to give you many options to enable workload deployment almost anywhere without extensive software rework. No one wants to be captive in any environment. That's why we ensure a flexible architecture to make sure every single application that is written for our software will work anywhere in the cloud. The regulatory environment is changing, and there are growing requirements that citizens' data be held and processed in its country of origin. For companies with customers around the world, this may require contracting with international clouds in any country where you want to operate, like IONOS. A Xeon optimized workload for your domestic environment can be transferred and co-located in any location across the world. That is the promise that Xeon brings. Private cloud infrastructure is also very often Xeon-based, and so this also allows you to have as much flexibility as possible to flex into the public cloud. And finally, edge deployments are becoming even more important for workloads that require significant compute and low latency close to the data's origin point or service delivery. Intel's architecture is growing quickly at the edge in the network and in on-location deployments, giving you options of how your workload can be deployed. The benefits of Intel in the cloud are manifold, but we'll break them down to flexibility. We are able to absorb service demand peaks and shift the mix of service demand over time. We future-proof the enhancement, evolution, and expansion of services by being everywhere from the cloud to the edge with a single server compact. We will support you on IA. We deliver predictable performance. The consistency of the architecture allows for no need to retune from application and application, location to location. We offer a balanced platform and memory subsystem with headroom for co-tenant workload isolation. We have the broadest optimized software ecosystem to deliver peak performance across a wide range of services. We offer efficiency. Scheduling maybe disparate classes of opportunistic work that can drive up average utilization on the server fleet and therefore drive down overall costs. Most of our partners are major hyperscale opportunities in this public cloud run a high fraction of their AI workload on unaccelerated Xeon platforms in pursuit of this goal. And Xeon has leadership in this category of workload across all the merchant CPU options, in addition to being the most widely deployed general purpose compute platform. We offer an increasing space of security technologies, as mentioned earlier. We have the largest ecosystem of test and verification with global real-time response and support. We have an ongoing roadmap of platform capabilities to enable differentiated confidential computing solutions. And we work very hard on sustainability across the ecosystem. We are conflict mineral free. We have deep commitments in this space well above other manufacturers. Collectively, we are driving on a problem that needs to be fixed. The world is producing an ever-increasing amount of CO2. By making things, plugging them in, growing more and more technology around the world, and trying to keep warm and cold. More than 51 billion tons of CO2 are being produced each year. The ICT energy consumption is expected to grow significantly and even rival any other sector for energy consumption. Many predict it will exceed 20% of the world's energy by 2030. For Intel, sustainability is a core part of our RISE goals. We are raising the bar for ourselves and others by evolving our corporate responsibility strategy to increase the scale of our work with others. Our own sustainability goals are to advance sustainable manufacturing, reduce emissions in the industry, and achieve carbon neutral computing. We know what actions will help. Use less, recycle, reclaim data center best practices, both in design and in operations. That is how we can reduce power usage. We are focusing on better metrics like TUE instead of just PUE to reduce wasted power and provision power better for broader use of power states and the integration of power states into orchestration technologies in the open source ecosystem. We are working on cooling innovations. As rack and data center density grows, air cooling is not enough. Power to cool has a cubed relationship to the power consumed. So we must drive vetted liquid cooling solutions and technologies into the mainstream, which we are doing through partnerships with ASHRAE and, of course, the Open Compute Project. And the supply chain can also have a massive impact. More than 20% of servers' CO2 footprint is driven by the supply chain versus the operations. That means the manufacturing, assembly, and shipping of our components. This is what we call scope 1 and 2 emissions. So how are we creating efficient second life and reuse programs? We are partnering across the ecosystem. And of course, the last part is ensuring that the source of the energy is controlled. We are working very hard, I believe at 88% renewable energy now, with a goal by 2030 to get to 100% renewable energy in all of our manufacturing and operations. Collectively, we must drive innovations and changes together if we are going to change this trajectory. Consortiums and initiatives are key to address this issue and move forward. Examples include the Climate Neutral Data Center Pact, driven by the EU Data Center Association and CISPE, and the Digital European Trade Association, which are now including hyperscalers and other cloud service providers to increasingly move us forward to avert any of these climate disasters, which will be our responsibility if we do not take action. So as I mentioned, IONOS will equip the majority of their data center servers with the 3rd gen Intel Xeon processors committed to sustainability, flexibility, performance, and security. And test those IONOS infrastructure have the opportunity to understand and experience the potential of cloud services on the 3rd gen Intel Xeon scalable processors for yourself. With that, I want to thank you for your attention and wish you a great day. I give back to Germany on the virtual stage of IONOS Cloud Up. Enjoy the last sessions of today.